Hi, it's Nathan here, and today we're talking about sections 4 through 8 of the Model WHS Act. So section 4 is the definitions, where they have a bunch of definitions for different terms. Interestingly, a lot of these definitions are quite complicated, so the definitions section won't actually have a full definition. It'll just reference another section where there is a full definition. But things like worker and reasonably practicable and the regulator and all that sort of stuff. Section 5 is then a very important section. It's another definition for PCBU, which stands for person conducting business or undertaking, one of the most commonly misunderstood and misrepresented terms in the Act or in health and safety. So to explain that one simply, under the old legislation, it would have been the employer. The PCBU would have been the employer. The reason they changed it to PCBU is they wanted to broaden that legal duty to cover not just the employer-employee relationship, but generally speaking, the business owner and worker. We'll get to worker in a second. But yeah, so the trick to remember is person conducting a business. Who is that? That's generally the business owner, if you're a sole trader anyway. Once you register a company, like a proprietary limited company or even a listed company, then that company gets its own legal status as similar to like the way a person does. So like once you open a proprietary or register a proprietary limited company, you can borrow money in that company's name. You can have a bank account in that company's name, all that sort of stuff. So in that case, the PCBU becomes the company, even though a company isn't really a person. And then the owners of the company inherit the duties as officers under the WHS Act. So person conducting business or undertaking, the vast majority of the time is going to be the business owner, or if it's in a proprietary limited company or an actual registered company, then it is that company itself. So like if you work for Coca-Cola, the PCBU is Coca-Cola. If you work for Jim's Mechanic, the PCBU is potentially Jim's Mechanic if he's just a sole proprietor, but if he's registered a company, then it might be Jim's Mechanic Proprietary Limited. So that's section 4 and 5. Section 6 is meaning of supply. The reason they have a definition for supply is it can be very complicated and very important with things like selling and hiring plant and equipment or substances. So they have a definition of supply in there. That's section 6. Section 7 is meaning of worker. And the main thing to remember with meaning of worker is essentially anyone doing work. It's very different to employee, and it's much, much broader. So worker is obviously an employee, a subcontractor, anyone performing work experience or volunteer work, trainees, apprentices, everything. Anyone doing work in your workplace is a worker. And then the Section 8 is another definition for workplace, which is essentially anywhere where work is taking place. Who would have thought? But that includes like if you're driving from one workplace to another, if you're working from home, that's your workplace. So it's basically anywhere where you're doing work. It's not just the physical place where you do the bulk of your work. Primarily, it can also involve other places that you attend as part of work. And another kind of edge case would be if you're traveling somewhere to do a conference as part of like continual development or professional development for your task, for your job, that's all your workplace as well. That would all be included as your workplace. So yeah, I hope that helps.